I don't wanna do your dirty work no more. I'm a fool to do your dirty work. Oh yeah. Because it's not a DC movie if I am not beating the shit out of Mason's center console.
That is correct.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to StillerBros at the Movies, where today we are covering our most anticipated movie of the summer, The Suicide Squad. Add a The Suicide Squad.
Now, 5 years ago, we saw the original Suicide Squad.
And while we were pretty nice to it back then, since then we've rewatched it, and as we've pointed out in prior videos, the shine kinda started to wear off.
And we're not the only ones who agree to that, as director David Ayer today, as we are recording this, because if you look at the record date, you'll see it's a little different than usual.
Behind the scenes fact, we're actually watching this a week. We're actually going to see this movie a week in advance.
Yeah, but today David Ayer put out a whole statement about how this is not his, about how the cut of Suicide Squad that came out in theaters was not his cuts. There was a different third act. There was no pop hit music at all.
But all we can get from the original Suicide Squad is it was not good. It was poorly edited. What we got was a poorly edited movie that was written in a rush, directed in David Ayer's usual. I have not even begun to show how shitty I can make the streets of LA look. Okay, aesthetic, which we only get from the idea that he also that like a year later he directed Bright, which made it even pulled the exact same thing.
Yeah,
but Suicide Squad still made money.
So a sequel was thrown into development, and it developed and developed and developed.
They went through like 3 different directors and actors and screenwriting teams. Eventually, for the longest time, Gavin O'Connor, the director of the Ben Affleck movie The Accountant, which is fine, I guess, was set to write and direct it. That's all we heard about it until about 3 years ago.
Now, 3 years ago, around this time, in fact, we got some news dropped from Comic-Con. Not good news. The news was that due to Mike Cernovich, an actual fucking Nazi, digging up some tasteless tweets from James Gunn, was able to get a Nazi cabal behind him to get James Gunn fired because Roseanne Barr had already been fired at ABC.
Now, we do not agree with James Gunn's firing. In fact, we do not are like many who do not stand behind how tasteless the jokes were. But the difference between what happened with James Gunn and what happened with, say, Gina Carano is that what happened with James Gunn had happened years before. He had recognized what he did was wrong and apologized for it, and he made every effort in his personal and professional life to show that he was not that guy anymore.
Whereas Gina Carano doubled, tripled, and quadrupled down, and basically was the equivalent of your boss saying, "Hey, don't do that," and then you immediately do it in front of them again, while giving them the finger.
So yeah, we did not agree with James Gunn's firing. We were very unhappy with this decision, especially since we love the Guardians movies so much. For a long time, James Gunn stayed dormant on Twitter, and Facebook, and all social media, as you probably should when something like this happens.
But then a couple months later, news came out that James Gunn was in negotiations to write and direct a new Suicide Squad movie.
Naturally, this made us think, okay, so he's not going to be the director of the Suicide Squad anymore. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 anymore. That sucks, but on the upside, DC finally gets what they wanted. They get a Suicide Squad movie that's actually a James Gunn movie, because, as we've pointed out multiple times, the original Suicide Squad was clearly intended to be a riff on Guardians of the Galaxy, with its pop songs, its misfit cast of bitter assholes with holes. It's attempts at dark comedy, all that kind of stuff. The problem being that it had to work with the Snyderverse aesthetic and by extension the David Ayer aesthetic, which is, like I said, basically look how shitty I can make this street in LA look.
Yeah. Then in March of 2019, James Gunn was back.
Yes, James Gunn was rehired to. After James Gunn was hired to direct Suicide Squad 2, was directed to direct Suicide Squad 2. It did not have a title until they announced it was The Suicide Squad.
And as of right now, he is prepping Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, but he just finished a somewhat continuation, sequel, spin-off kind of thing, we're not sure yet, called Peacemaker, based on a character in this movie.
Now the fact that James Gunn is back in the director's seat for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 plus a Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special shows that yes, there can be good. This can work. Marvel and DC can coexist. In fact, this is a lot like the old ways that comic books used to be, where writers and artists could just basically jump between the two companies.
Like even Richard Donner, who made the first two Superman movies, was a producer on at least the first X-Men movie.
So basically, yeah, now James Gunn has got dipped his toe into the waters of both companies. Now this movie has been a long time. Been a bit of a long time coming because, like we said, it was kind of pushed around a lot. They ended up putting it on the back burner for Birds of Prey for a little while, but that does not mean that the people who have been relentlessly shitting on Birds of Prey for the last 2 years suddenly have license to shit on Birds of Prey even more. Or just because Margot Robbie made Birds of Prey, does not mean that the Suicide Squad did not happen. It did not get to happen earlier. So just please calm the fuck down.
But the Suicide Squad, we have the return of Joel Edgerton, Margot Robbie, Jai Courtney, Viola Davis.
It's Joel Kinnaman.
God damn it.
And isn't that the perfect way to sum up Joel Kinnaman's career? Sorry, RoboCop.
Yep. But we have Joel Kinnaman and Viola Davis and Jai Courtney and Margot Robbie returning. We were gonna have Will Smith, but then he got scheduling conflicts, so he had to drop out. So they replaced him with Idris Elba.
But then they just decided, you know what? We may want Will Smith to come back at some point. So instead, we're going to make Idris Elba a completely different character who just happens to have a very scarily similar backstory. Like, he has this daughter that he's a very loving father towards. He's a remarkable sniper and weapons expert. He's pretty much in jail for a confrontation where he almost killed a member of the Big Three.
Yeah, but then we also have Pete Davidson, John Cena, Michael Rooker, Sean Gunn, Jennifer Holland, Steve Agee, Sylvester Stallone, so many more actors that I don't even remember the names of.
And of course the wonderful Taika Waititi himself branching out of it as well.
With a role that has not really been advertised.
And if you have not read the Wikipedia page months in advance like we did, we will not spoil who he shows up as.
Yes, but we have a story that is way more Suicide Squad than Suicide Squad was, because the story is simply just them on a mission that the U.S. government really can't afford to be seen involved in.
Yeah, and once again, that's what was kind of wrong with the first. One of the things that was wrong with the first Suicide Squad. One of the things. Obviously, the editing was trash. The story was hacked together. The characters were a little underwritten because only barely a couple of them were actually likable just because you recognized them as their actors. Anyway, getting off topic. But as I pointed out in a prior video, I think it was our Birds of Prey video, the Suicide Squad movie really needed to not be a fate of the world situation. This one kind of is. If you've seen the trailers, it kind of is. But the idea is less they have to fight a literal god and more let's go do this thing that an actual Black Ops team would actually need to do. The idea being essentially being that Task Force X or the Suicide Squad are a black ops team that happen to have a bunch of metahumans in it, which you can send in as expendable soldiers, so that you don't know the U.S. government's involved, and you can and if they get caught or killed, you can just basically sweep them under the rug because, hey, they're supposed to be in police custody right now.
But we also have a lot of big DC characters coming in. We have Peacemaker and Weasel and King Shark and Polka Dot Man. Who knew they would see fucking Polka Dot Man in a movie?
Yeah, it's really nice that James Gunn is pulling from a great list of C-list DC characters and villains. Just he's not pulling from a main roster. It would be fun to see like a Black Manta or something in there, but James Gunn is pulling from a very specific version of the Suicide Squad, just like he was pulling from a very specific version of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, another thing that we probably should mention: this motherfucker's rated R.
Yes, another DC's most recent R-rated fanfare. It's going to, meaning that this is going to be the most James Gunn comic book movie ever. Not to say that the Guardians of the Galaxy movies are not James Gunnish. It's just that James Gunn obviously got his start in horror movies and just in dark horror movies and B-movie schlock. So obviously his sense of humor can be is more tailored to his sense of humor and characters is more tailored to a more raunchy adult audience. Not to say that he does bad in PG-13 settings.
No, but he's not going to make an R-rated movie in this Guardians of the Galaxy movie in the same way that he's going to make that he would want to make a PG-13 Suicide Squad movie.
So essentially, what we've got is James Gunn very much in his elements, coming back after an incredible fan and backlash. By the way, Cernovich, I hope you suck. You suck. Mike Cernovich, you suck.
Go fuck yourself, Mike Cernovich, and your Nazi cult.
Anyway, but essentially this is his comeback movie. His big look. I'm back now. We can all assemble and love this movie and enjoy ourselves again from the brilliantly twisted mind of James Gunn.
Yes, and it's very good that we have a little bit longer drive because we knew we were going to be talking for a little while on this.
Yes, and the reason we have a bit of a longer drive is because once again, full disclosure, we're seeing this movie a week in advance. That Jungle Cruise video you probably already saw, that was shot after this.
Yes, we were going to see Jungle Cruise tonight, but then by sheer happenstance, I was able to get us into this.
We are going to an advanced screening of The Suicide Squad, featuring an, I assume, pre-recorded Q&A with the cast and director.
Yes.
So I think this will be this is going to be a fun night.
Yes.
Hopefully. It's going to hurt it's going to suck it's going to just suck in the morning because we have to wake up and go to work. But
yeah, but other than that, we're excited to get into that theater. We're excited to see the Suicide Squad rocking out.
And we are just excited that we get to see it before all of you. How does that feel?
Yeah, some of you British people don't get to see it until tomorrow.
Tomorrow. I love this opportunity to just make everybody jealous.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see you after the jump then. Bye.
Bye.
And we are out. Ladies and gentlemen, the Suicide Squad shows you exactly why it is rated R in the first 10 minutes. The credits are painted in blood.
It is so fucking bloody and so fucking amazing of a good time.
Everything about it was fun and energetic, and it was just amazing. An amazing ride from beginning to end. So let's get into it. James Gunn is clearly showing you that this is not just basically, let's do it with Guardians of the Galaxy. Let's do what Guardians of the Galaxy again. This is not the kind of thing where Bloodsport suddenly is like, hold up, bad guys, my iPod stopped after working for a second. Okay, there's a very clear difference in in the characters here versus the characters in Guardians.
There is a tone that is very different to this. That is very different from Guardians of the Galaxy.
And it's evident in the way that he directs it. It's the location titles show up on screen, and they show up on screen in a pretty unique way. It's the action is directed in very interesting ways that we can't go deep into, that otherwise they'd be spoilers for most of it, but yeah, it's some of James Gunn's most creative direction, and I really love how it's pulled off all the way through.
Yeah. But let's get a little bit more into it. We got Idris Elba in the role of Bloodsport, who is such a fun character. Him and John Cena have amazing chemistry going on.
The basic joke being that they're basically the same guy, so why exactly are they both necessary on a team? But they have this big dick measuring contest. It's hilarious, the stuff that they go through, that the two of them and just to throw at each other during the whole thing. It's great. The Peacemaker series will probably be amazing.
Yes, we have Viola Davis as Amanda Waller. She was great with this character in Suicide Squad. She's even better here.
Mostly because she actually gets stuff to do. And she doesn't actually just stop at being the tough government official who has a secret that's not a very good secret. And here she's got a secret that's a very good secret. That is a very good secret and a very relevant feeling one, depending on when you look at literally every political intrigue movie that's ever been made, and this is no exception.
Yeah. John Cena as Peacemaker. He's one of my fucking favorite characters in this entire goddamn movie.
It's amazing that he took douchebag Captain America as a character. Apparently, John Cena got on the set. He did a completely different voice for the character, and James Gunn was like, "No, he's a douchebag Captain America. Play it like that." And yeah, he's this very complicated character because basically he's just like, I will do whatever it takes for liberty. Essentially what he goes with, and
he cherishes peace with all his heart. He doesn't care how many men, women, and children he has to kill to get it.
And so that's why the Peacemaker series has the potential to be fantastic, because this character is complicated, does have this little complication to him.
Yeah. Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. She's fucking great in the role every time, so we don't really have to say much about it.
And I just love the fact that the characters play off each other incredibly well. Sylvester Stallone as King Shark is adorable the right word for a man-eating shark with dead doll eyes?
I mean, kinda, maybe. However, kind of one of the big standouts is Dave DeSmalchin as Polka Dot Man.
Yeah, it's funny that in a movie that already kind of has the innocent one in the character list when it comes to King Shark, actually feels the need to put another character who would fit that description in with Polka Dot Man, and also they kind of go with this hilarious Norman Bates thing which leads to some of the best visual jokes in the entire movie.
Yeah, it's really funny. There's also a lot of great humor in this movie. It comes off there's so much great jokes in it that all come back around in some way or shape or form. It's very organic. It is very organic the way that the humor flows through.
It's very here that James Gunn knew exactly what he was doing when he was looking at everything like this, and it shows that it's very clear that James Gunn is very good at writing good characters. Even the characters that show up for only a few minutes have this kind of energy to them.
Yeah. Pete Davidson, Michael Rooker, Nathan Fillion have some very great stuff that they got going on when we see them together.
Nathan Fillion and Pete Davidson have built up quite a bit of a friendship on the set of this movie, and that kind of led to and that is kind of evident in the way their characters interact, that they at least had some time together to actually build a relationship on screen and off.
Jai Courtney shows that he's very awesome in this role as Captain Boomerang.
It's probably the only role that people can remember him for. Or Joel Kinnaman is very...
Rick Flag this time around is so great in a lot of stuff, but he still feels like the same guy that we had back in Suicide Squad.
And the fact... It's just so fun to see the characters that come back in a fantastic way, and all the actors are clearly having fun with it, because Viola Davis was even in at least one featurette like, superhero movies need to be fun, and it's like, then why were you in the first one? But yeah, the Suicide Squad actually builds on some of the relationships from the first one, but not in a way that you have to have seen the first one. Yeah, the way that it's built, it makes it's like, even when they are like, oh, these are when Harley Quinn is going around being like, oh, these are my friends, it's like, okay, I understand. Okay, even if I don't remember any, even if I had suffered a head injury and forgot everything from the first movie, I would still recognize that because of the way that these characters talk with each other, the way that these actors play off each other. I totally understand. These characters know each other.
Like, Harley and Flag have this really great relationship together. We get this great relationship between Bloodsport and Ratcatcher 2.
And that very much is built on Bloodsport's arc and where he has to go with it. Also, can I just say it's weird remembering Storm Reid from A Wrinkle in Time and hearing her curse.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
It's not like Disney Channel star. It's not like Disney Channel star cursing where I have to suddenly hear where I suddenly hear a Disney Channel star curse, and it's like, oh right, this is your adult role, but it's up there. But then again, we haven't watched Euphoria yet.
Yeah.
And so maybe she curses a lot more in that.
Yeah, we don't know, but I gotta hold this one, right?
I think so.
Okay.
But it's just great for the whole.
We get some great character stuff. We get some amazing stuff going on. There's great action. You get so much amazing physicality from everybody. It's shot beautifully. There's so much color. The music is fantastic, whether it be certain rock tracks or just build up. The Peacemaker theme is probably a big standout, just because every time it plays, it's a big, amazing action sequence. Yeah.
The visual effects we didn't really talk about visual effects a lot, because usually when we're talking about it, it's like we're talking about an animated movie where we're just like, the animation's very realistic, but here it's like we have at least two fully animated characters, so we need to talk about Weasel and King Shark are so fantastically animated that you almost forget that they weren't actually there, to the point that and also Weasel is going to haunt my fucking nightmares.
Yeah. Also, but this is also James Gunn's most practical movie ever. It's the most practical effects he's ever done in a movie.
It's kind of amazing to look at most of this stuff and think that was real. All of that was real. Obviously, it's like most movies, you can tell what's practical and what's CGI, but it's all good practical, good CGI. It's not suddenly a bad oh, that is the worst CGI I've ever seen. I do not have any problem believing that isn't real. Or, oh wow, that practical effect just did not go off right. It's fantastic. Real explosions, real guns going off, so much happening over the course of the movie.
Yeah, it's just so amazing to see this done in a way that was perfect for what it needed to be.
And yeah, it's just great that we got this redemption story with James Gunn. And yeah, in the back of our minds, it's fun to know that this is a redemption arc for James Gunn himself, where he got to make where just when it seemed like people were like he was being unfairly kicked around because a bunch of people didn't like the fact that he was didn't like the fact that he was criticizing Big Daddy Trump. They decide, no, we're gonna keep this guy around. We're gonna let him continue to have fun because it turns out he's an actually nice guy.
He's a good guy. We never heard anything bad about him. He never did anything wrong. Make bad jokes.
And if making jokes about a certain group of people makes you a member of that group of people, Mel Brooks, total Nazi.
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah. James Gunn, back in the director's chair, back in the best way. This movie was the perfect way to bring that back. The fact that he's going back for Guardians 3 just makes me all the more excited for it. And the fact that he managed to make this movie makes me excited for anything that he manages to make in the future.
Like, I was gonna be like, the second and the whole thing happened with the whole firing of Guardians Volume 2, I was like, let's fucking sells it. I'm seeing in the next movie he makes. And I saw the next movie he made. And now I can't wait to see the next movie he makes. And the next one. And the next one. And the next one.
Because clearly we cannot sleep on James Gunn. He's a talented filmmaker. He seems like a nice enough person, and the fact that we feel that backing him on this means that we need to support him as much as we possibly can, and obviously support anyone else who we feel is put in the same situation that would be in a much deeper situation where it's like where they don't have the kind of backing that James Gunn has for all the various reasons.
Not naming names because we honestly can't think of any names where it would be
where that fits right now. But if it happens, we'd probably be like, oh, that's unfair. Yeah, we're on your side.
Yeah. Even though they tried to cancel James Gunn. It didn't work because there was no reason to do it.
And yeah, but what did we get out of it? We got this amazing movie.
And we got another amazing movie coming up the pipes starting in November, when they start shooting in November.
So sorry, right-wing weirdos, you accidentally gave us two awesome movies. Gave us two awesome movies.
And an awesome TV show, and an awesome holiday special.
So I thank you, but I don't want to give you the credit.
Yeah.
But yeah, Suicide Squad, amazing, fantastic, one of the best movies we have seen all year, and probably will be, and we'll probably at least still make the top 5, depending on what happens for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Definitely going to be one of the best movies, one of our favorite movies of the summer.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it. So that's it, guys. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to tune in next time when Free Guy. Bye.